My name's Delene Cuddihy and I'm a member of the community here in Brisbane, and a little while ago I got interested in this magnificent building behind us here. It has a fascinating past but unfortunately a sad future. This building is Yungaba, an Aboriginal word that was chosen after World War II, but actually before that it was known as the Kangaroo Point Immigration Depot. It was built in the late 1880s by the Queensland Government to attract migrants to Queensland. And it was designed by one of Australia's prominent architects at the time, a man called J.J. Clark, and it was actually used on the publicity posters that went right throughout the United Kingdom and throughout Europe as well. In the turn of the century, when the Australian states united, one of their very first piece of legislation, of course people know, was the Immigration Restriction Act, and the second piece of legislation was the South Sea Islander Deportation Act. That meant that all the South Sea Islanders in Queensland were to be deported back to their home islands, or in some cases just back to any island apparently. So the South Sea Islanders had to go, and it was quite a tragic time and started quite an infamous era in Australia's history, the White Australia policy, and this building has very strong tangible links to that period in Australia's history. During World War I, of course, there were no migrants coming, so the building then became the Australian General Service Hospital for the Brisbane area, and inside the building itself there were 300 beds for wounded soldiers. And the soldiers arrived the same way the migrants had arrived. They arrived by boat back from Gallipoli and from Europe. And the wounded soldiers headed up the very first Anzac Day parade, which was started here in Brisbane. In the late 1930s, when they decided to build this bridge across the river, it wasn't called the Story Bridge then, Yungaba was used as the design headquarters for J.J. Bradfield. At the turning of the sod ceremony, he said it was a great honour for him to be building a bridge on the spot where his father first set foot on Australian soil. But he did this design in the top floor of Yungaba, and you can see there's some skylights up in the roof that were put in for the design office in the 1930s. I used to come here for multicultural arts activities, and then I heard that the building was to be sold. Well, a group of friends and myself thought, no, this can't happen, and we should really start to try and do something about it. So we started to write letters, and we eventually formed ourselves into, we called ourselves the Yungaba Action Group. We're just ordinary community members. We don't, do any of these sort of things professionally or have done these things in the past. But I guess the thing we all have in common is we see A, it's a beautiful building, and B, that it's very important for Queensland history. And the thing that's unique about Yungaba is that it's the actually only surviving 19th century immigration depot in Australia. So it's the oldest completely intact immigration depot in Australia. So inside the building are all the processing rooms that they used when migrants first walked up from getting off the boat on the river. They would have a reception area inside. There'd be little offices where they would go for their processing of their passports and their paperwork, and they'd actually be given rail tickets from Queensland Rail for their destinations. They'd also have a labour bureau, and this was the start of the Department of Labour, was started here in the immigration depot. We say preserving a shell of a building inside a gated community and gutting this unique interior is not preserving for future generations of Queenslanders. Americans recognise the importance of their immigration museum at Ellis Island. It was derelict, falling down. They set up a private sector fundraising drive. People donated millions of dollars. They restored Ellis Island and turned it into an immigration museum, and it's the most visited and most loved museum in the United States. And we say Yungaba could have been Australia's Ellis Island. It has amazing stories to tell.